I'd like to call the Occupancy Tax Committee to order, May 22nd. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting held on April 24th, 2017. Edna? Second? Jean? Ron, you know you're on this committee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can stay there. I just want to make sure you know what you're doing. 'Cause I don't.
I wonder why I wasn't up here. No, that's recorded on the minutes.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Michael, you're up.
Good morning, everyone. I passed out basically the tally sheet, and very good news. We're up collections from this time last year. We're up 23% on OCTAX. I don't have an answer as to why it's such a big increase, but it is there. That's about all I can say about it. Any questions?
So, I guess that ended all the questions.
Yeah.
Matt?
Could it be because of the actions that we've taken?
Could be, yes. Yeah, we might as well take
I
credit
just
for
was
it.
looking for some positive affirmation
They
that
don't
we're
want to give
doing our
positive.
job.
They don't give positive.
I mean, you know, why not? We can take credit for it. What, who's going to say we
So there's a
didn't?
lot of special work being done.
Yes, there is.
Advertising.
Yes, there
We had
is.
a reasonably fair winter compared to the one before.
Yep.
We had 3-4 good weekends of snowmobiling that did a lot to it. And, you know, there's some new hotels there that are bringing in different clientele that come to certain hotels. So there is a reason.
Yep.
This
Well, I will be
money.
I'll be very curious to see, you know,
How it goes forward.
how this unfolds over the whole year, because I think this is more of a spike. I mean, this would be just phenomenal. I mean, if it held through the rest of the year, I don't think it will, but, no, it's a good start.
But, see, I don't look at it the way you do. That's a spike, it's a great spike. Even if you stay
Oh, yeah.
flat for the rest of the year equal to last year,
Yep.
you're ahead of the game.
Yep.
So it's not, like this time last year, the sky was falling, we were falling apart, people were jumping in the river. But this is some good news, and it should be mentioned as that.
Yes, it is good news, very good news. I agree with you, sir.
Ron?
Not to dismay the good news, but how many dollars of delinquent do we have? You know, people that aren't paying.
Well, I'm not sure I can really discuss that under the way the law is written, but we do
No,
have
I mean a dollar amount.
a dollar amount.
Yeah.
It's not very much. It's not, I mean, we have probably 4 or 5 properties that we're chasing right now that have not paid what we figured that they should have paid, and I don't think that's an awful lot of money involved.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
It's a small amount compared to the picture. They have an active program to both register new places and make sure that the old places are still paying. Some of them are a little difficult because they buy them and they close them down, or
That's
redo
our
'em.
biggest problem when one of these properties changes hands and the new people coming in don't understand how it's all supposed to be set up, and we don't know that it's changed hands, and we try to contact the other owners, and that's where we run into the biggest problem, is when something changes hands.
Yes, Matt?
I just I had a little observant thing done online last night. I was looking to make reservations for an RV site, and they had a 9% OCTAX on an RV site.
Where?
I want to say it was Michigan.
I don't know.
9% on it.
That's a lot.
Skipping town?
I just was like amazed. I was just checking all over the place where I'm going to go, you know.
Well, in Warren County, campgrounds are exempt, so.
Yeah. It was just a little fact that
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it. I'm sure that the campers are happy about it, but, you know, that is, I mean, if we went after that, that's another source of revenue.
You know,
No, we got a lot of
But I
campgrounds.
don't know of anybody in New York that has occupancy on campgrounds. I don't think anybody does.
Would, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
wouldn't the
sir.
law have to be changed, though, if we went in
Yes.
that direction? I mean,
Yes.
you're talking a major... Okay.
You talking about local law, or you talking about legislation?
Local law, our local law would have to be
Yeah.
changed.
Okay. Does anybody from the public have anything for Mike? Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Great. Would you pass that to behind?
Okay, revisit Adirondack hot air balloon. You want to attempt to?
I can, or I think Jean wanted to say something.
Okay.
I just want to bring the committee up to snuff on what this 15,000 is for the hot air balloon. 2013, the hot air balloon festival got, I think, 25,000, but they were a little short towards the end, and they wanted another 15, so we gave it to them. And what happened in 2014 is they didn't realize, and I guess we didn't tell them, that they got to keep replying, for the extra if they don't ask for it at the end of the year off-tax meeting for the following year. So he was really short in 15, so in 16 we gave him 15 and 16 was a $30,000 allotment. So what this is now is requesting the 15 again for this year, not here, and starting at the end of this year when we have our give out money to these places, he will come in and say 40,000 is what he's looking for, and we have to go from there. So that's all this is right here. It's just lack of communication. I'll use that word, but they need 40,000 plus what they get from other places. So that's what this is, and I'm just trying to get Dennis up to speed and the rest of everybody up to speed.
I appreciate that, Gene. John, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to say, the Balloon Festival is put together by a group that's a nonprofit group. None of the committee people make any money. They have a certain budget to run that Balloon Festival, and it's been a grandiose Balloon Festival. I think everyone will agree. It draws people from all over the Northeast. And, the volunteers, like ourselves, we work it. They have volunteers that work it. Nobody makes any money on it. The budget is what the budget is. And like I said, nobody makes a profit. It's run by a nonprofit agency. So if you cut them, what happens is they have to cut the experience. So it's going to be less of a Bloom Festival than it was the year before. So I don't think that's what we intended on doing. So I think we should.
Doesn't the town of Queensbury give them additional money? Above the
Well, the
40,000?
standard thing, we give them $15,000 every year. And what they say is, the county cut us a little bit short, which means, all right, the town gave what they promised, the county didn't, for whatever reason, and now they have to make the choice of, well, come to the county and say, listen, I don't know if you understood our situation, but, we're a nonprofit, we're running the Bloom Festival, it's a lot of work, we don't get paid for it, we don't make any money on it, and it's a great experience for everyone in the county and beyond. So if you cut us, we've got to cut the experience. Is that what you want to do? And I said, no.
No, I'm just trying to get a handle on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the real issue was there was two sources of funding. One was the Oxy tax funding, and then there was money in the tourism budget. It needs to be put together as one $40,000 request next year. And that's the problem is they always came in, they got the 25,000 through the Oxy tax, and then they always came in and got 15,000 out of the tourism budget. They had to make the request for that, and sometimes that lagged behind. So I think next year we're going to work on this situation to streamline it and get it as one request.
Don't tell me what to do.
So it doesn't, every year we seem to go through this with Mr. Donahue and the organization. We need to get it straight around.
Yes.
What do we fund them this year?
So this will bring it back to the 40.
We also have the ancillary costs of the overtime at TBW, and
Correct.
that's another part of the
Right.
picture also.
Well, that pretty much goes on any of those big events.
Yeah.
Yeah, Americade is Sheriff's Department. no issue about it. Yes, Frank?
Is there any consideration for a group that receives money from the county and then goes to the towns? Is it, it's permitted by law, is that something that, so 25,000 from the county, 15 from Queensbury, it was 350 from the village and 350 from the town of Lake George as well, I think. The way the law is currently written, you can go door to door, right? So you can actually get the maximum at the county level and still get more from the door-to-door element of it.
I think the 350 from the town was for an ad or something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, we advertised in there.
I think,
Well, it's a...
Supervisor Garrity was
yeah.
pointing towards, is it one, you raised the question in my mind, is it one request for occupancy tax money all in, or is it?
I believe next year, they're gonna come back and ask for one request, so they don't have to go.
Correct.
I do believe that they provide the rooms for the balloonists. Isn't that part of their expense?
About 28,000.
Yeah, so
They pay for
they're
all the
actually, this
balloons.
money is going
And
back
gas.
into hoteliers to pay for the
And they
room.
gas, so,
And
you
then
know,
some of the extravagant
that's where the
balloons.
expense is, that's why they need the extra money.
Well, it's no, my remark had nothing to do with the quality of the event, it just had to do with the process by which one can ask for octax money.
And that is a problem, Frank. They come to you and they never tell you where they're getting the rest of the money from. That is a question on the octax form. Have you gotten money from other? But it is interesting. I mean, you add them all up, it's a lot.
I think the firemen do the same thing, you know, they'll hit Lake George and
Yeah.
Queensbury and then Optax, so
Yeah.
Are the rooms in-kind service or they pay for them? Just out of curiosity.
No,
I know we used to, you know, the balloonists themselves, not
Yeah.
everybody else. Usually a hotel would donate a couple of rooms to the little festival. That's what it
no,
is.
this is paid for, according to the
But
information
we were
we
told
get.
they pay for it.
All the rooms are...
I don't know if all of them are.
In the past.
Yeah, I don't know, Dave. I just know that that's a big expense, is they're paying.
Well, this guy, I mean, I think it was mostly he'd go out and hustle, you know, we're gonna advertise it, but, you know, give the balloonist, just the balloonist.
Yeah.
And he take the hotel people up for a ride in conversations, let them know.
I don't know the answer to that, but the
That's what it was.
amount of money it is, I'm assuming that they're paying for every room.
That's an interesting phenomenon, because that means occupancy tax money's generating occupancy tax money.
You've gone
Some of it back.
past my capability to comprehend all that.
And sales tax.
Ron?
Yeah, that's, the history on that is that there was some years back, that was an issue, Frank. And I think it was brought up by the mayor, in fact. And I think there might even been an article on that. And then the way it was resolved at that time was that within their budget, they're supposed to identify their sources of funding, whether it came from another municipality or not. And in fact, it was actually encouraged, and some of the committee members almost insisted that they wanted to see the local contribution. In fact, I think points were even assigned, additional points whether it was a local contribution, because what was happening at that time, sometimes these were small events, but then what happened a couple of years back when these events were shifted to the municipalities, a lot of that was bypassed, that double, if you want to call it double dipping. Some of the larger events like this, however, don't fit into that new administrative process quite as cleanly as a lot of the smaller ones did. So you would have a small event that would come to the county, ask for money, they're getting money from the town, that kind of thing. So they don't see quite as much of that as we used to, but it's still, I know some committee members like to see the locals put priority on it, so that these events don't get steered to the county in order to avoid having to use local octax. That's particularly important now with a lot of the events, the small events, if you want to call it that, have been shifted to the municipalities.
Good.
Just trying to, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you picked.
Just a sec. And the 15,000, where would that come from if we approve this?
Come from the reserve.
And how's the balance in the reserve? We have,
Right on here.
speak to that, Mike?
I can't remember where we're at. This is are you talking about the general reserve or the one that's set aside?
It would be for the Warren County, the occupancy tax
Okay,
reserve.
1
I
million.
don't think there's been anything taken out.
1 million, isn't it, Mike? On your sheet.
No, this is
No, that's just that.
budgeted for Warren County projects. And did that start at 50 or 75,000? I can't remember.
We did not fund Warren County projects this year.
Okay.
And originally, for 2017, what was in the plan was 175,000, and that's why Balloon Festival got cut, because we were trying very hard to stay to that 175,000. As you recall,
We went up to...
we went up to 253,000 or something
Yeah,
like that.
285, maybe?
So, you know,
All right,
that additional...
So if that's the case, if the Warren County project wasn't funded, then yeah, we're on $1 million in reserve.
Right. I think the total reserve, I don't, you know, it's over, I know for a fact it's over 3 million, but we need $1,600,000, I believe, is the figure that they're using for cash flow. So we're still well over $1 million. Out of that reserve, there was 150,000 that went back to the reserve because it wasn't spent last year for a water feature at the Festival Commons. We've reappropriated that. That's the only thing to date that we've reappropriated.
We basically had rolled it over to this year and
Right.
appropriated
It's,
this year.
you know, the reserve is just a closing account, so
Yeah.
whatever's not spent goes back. And so in this case, even though the Balloon Festival was given an additional 30,000 last year because of missing a year, and total, that was 30,000 out of the Warren County Projects Code, and 23,000 last year out of special events. So they had a total of 53,000 that they could, that they were basically awarded. They only asked for 40,000, so that the difference of 13,000 went back to the reserve. So basically what we're doing is reappropriating the 13 plus an additional 2,000.
Anybody else? Gene, you had something?
You know, I just, you know me, I'm a pain in the neck, but I just like the people to understand, like the Bloom Festival. When that started many, many years ago, when the Grishkotts did it, it's like Mr. Kenny said, he's go knocking on doors, say, look, I need 10 room, you know, well, give me 2, give me 3, and he wasn't paying for the balloonists. Over the years, since now new people have taken it over, plus the price of these balloonists to get the quality balloon ride, those big things, the ones that attract the kids and the people that come, you got to pay. You have to pay for them to come here. So we don't really pay for them to come here, but we put them up in the hotel.
Right.
It's a lot cheaper than, you know, paying them to come here.
Right.
So that's why some of this stuff is strange to new people in the area and people that really don't follow this year after year after year. But the Balloon Festival probably has 20%, 25, maybe 30% more balloons now than it had 5 years ago. And most of them are those ones that travel from all over the country to get here with those specialty item balloons, not just the same old hot air balloon that went up 5 years, 8 years ago. They look beautiful, they were beautiful, but now people want to see the more fancier ones, and that's what it costs. So that's why I'm supportive of this 100%.
So is that your motion to pay the 15?
Huh?
Is that your motion to pay the 15?
Well, I think we should, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second? John? David, you have
I
something?
got one question, did they put that out the bid?
What's that?
A lot of small motels, there's a lot of small motels in Warren County, they don't get a shot at that. They just-
No, I agree with you 100% there.
I mean, how do those rooms get awarded to what hotel or what? Not that it matters, you know, but there's a lot of small properties that
Could use them.
never get a chance at this. And if they send out a
That's
bid
something
sheet-
the organizers do, you know? and
Well,
it's
well,
just-
the county can require them to bid it, it's tax money. It shouldn't
We-
go to one person.
It's a good point, we can ask them about that.
It shouldn't, you know, yeah, well, the small properties, 10, 12 unit
I'd
hotels.
be very
struggle.
surprised if they
Big
did.
properties survive.
I doubt it. I doubt
Yeah,
it.
I'm sure they call around and
They
find
just
out.
call
But they
around
go
and get
around
rooms.
Properties,
Right.
you know, the same.
I think for a long time, the Exit 19 Ramada was
Oh,
headquarters.
that was always the headquarters, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, there's small properties, 10 unit, 12 unit hotels, like the certain area, would love to have some little people there. I don't know.
We'll find out, Dave.
That's something we
Matt?
can do.
You know, I was here when we discussed the funding of our we had $175,000 to work with. We did our job as a committee. I'm supportive of the Balloon Festival, but it's very hard to sit on the committee and go through that process. We still went over the $175,000, at this table. So it's kind of like we really got to figure out what we're doing here, because we're making decisions after we've made decisions
Right.
above our funding level. So it's kind of that's not a good way to.
As Kevin mentioned earlier, and you brought up, one of the things we're trying to do here in this committee this year is establish a list of those events that are going to be funded by the county. And they're the events that happen every year, and they come back basically for the same amount of money. The number one is Americade, number two is Balloon Fest, and then it's the Firemen and a couple others. So what we want to do is make a short list, and then every year that short list will be funded and rolled over, unless there's an issue, either from our side or their side, then we'll bring it up and discuss it. But
Car show was...
excuse me?
The car show was also part of that?
Yeah, car show,
Yes.
motorcycles.
The short answer is yes.
I know. No, I just want to say, but didn't we do that though to give the towns more flexibility?
The problem is,
More
Matt,
money?
they got this information from the hoteliers a ways back, probably 4 years ago. There are 5 major events that use the most rooms, and I don't think we've adjusted our formulas up on that. Number one being Americade, and Balloon Fest was on there, garage sale was on there, car show was on there, and there was one other one. Those were the 5 major events that
Firemen.
I think it was when it was in Lake George. They used the most rooms up. So, I mean, this needs to be fixed so we don't go through this again.
Yeah,
But in this case here, I've got to support what he does. And they do spend, it's $8,000 just for the gas for the balloons.
My point is just that we went through a process and we made some tough decisions. We heard Dennis in passionate plea after we cut $5,000 from Americade, and here we are. We're just gonna, and I'm like, we didn't even have to go through all that. If that's so, I hope this year, in summation, all I'm asking is this year, let's work on getting a plan, sticking to it. I think it's only fair to the people that are, making this occupancy tax available, and also for the supervisors that sit on the committee and go through this process, make tough decisions.
I agree, Matt, and we are doing that this year.
Yeah. I mean, there isn't anything I don't like out there as far as funding. I mean, we all want to fund everybody and have everybody happy and bring in tax.
That's the problem. Get 2.5 times as much requests as we have money.
Right.
That's what happened last year. We got
Every
3 times as
every
much.
time.
We get over $1 million in requests, and we only had like $200,000 to spend. So each year, more people request, and that's what's happening.
Okay, we have a resolution on the table with a second. Does anybody have any final comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Guess I should have left you up there, huh, Mike?
Yeah, well, that's all right.
Finish you off now.
Exercise my knees. Good morning again. Attached to the tally sheet that I gave out to everybody, there's some additional documents, and one of them is entitled Amendment Housekeeping Cottages. It's a 3-page dissertation on what a housekeeping, non-housekeeping, whether we should collect occupancy tax, not collect occupancy tax on these type of structures. What I'm requesting is, and I want to start here at occupancy tax, is that the local law be amended to read all cottages, bungalows, and cabins of 4 or more units collect occupancy tax. This dissertation is becoming a nightmare to try to enforce, to try to explain to anybody. It's getting out of hand. And this is one of the things that we were written up by the auditors about, was not proper enforcement of this section, that we weren't chasing these people enough. And so I want to start here at occupancy tax and say, can we please start the process to amend the local law to do away with all of this and just say any bungalow, cottage, cabin with 4 or more units, you have to collect occupancy. regardless of what kind of services you do or don't supply. Questions?
Is that the rub, because they don't get linen service or whatever, they don't?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you read through the 3 pages here, it goes into, do you get a wake-up call or not? Do you get linen or not? Do you get towels or not? It's just becoming, I mean, my staff and myself were answering questions on this almost constantly, and it's becoming a boondoggle.
Michael, it's a good point. I think it's relevant and pertinent. We at the town of Lake George have tried to tackle this. I'll be interested to see how this compares with what we're trying to do. The other issue we have is that we're having some difficulties in the town of Lake George with private home rentals. So we're actually considering doing a local law whereby if you're going to rent your house, or B, some residence on your home property, be it an apartment over the garage or a shed you've converted to a 1-bedroom. If you rent any of those, you need to come to the town and register and get a business permit. And that would then be tied to occupancy tax. So we took it all the way down to 1. You rent your house, you're actually in business, you're competing with rentals that are paying occupancy tax.
Well, I mean, this isn't, what I'm asking about or talking about here is not a significant amount of money by any means, but it is trying to simplify what is becoming a mess. And so what it basically needs is we need to amend the local law, which means, you know, we've got to go through the public hearing and all of that kind of stuff. But I wanted to start here at occupancy tax because this is where it should start. And whatever direction that the committee wants to take, I'll go with and work with and do whatever we need to do.
Kevin?
Mike, why'd you pick 4? I'm just curious why.
Because that's the way the law reads now, 4 or more units.
Okay.
If you're non-housekeeping or housekeeping, and so anything 3, anybody who has 3 units is exempt. So I mean, I guess we could, if you wanted, we could go to say if any number of units you have in a you know, cabins, bungalows, cottages, whatever. It wouldn't make any difference to me. I just said, okay, well, the current law says 4, so let's go with 4.
But let's do this, Mike. I'd like to take this back to the town and sit down with Dan, the zoning administrator, and go through what we're trying to do and compare it to what effect this will have on it. I would suggest anybody else in the same category do the same, and let's, next month we'll roll it over on the agenda and we'll talk about it some more.
Okay.
Matt?
Whose responsibility is it when, you know, if this changes in any direction? I mean, do you actually initiate the conversation with these people that own those properties?
Yeah, what I would suggest is if we're going to act on it this year, within the next few months, I would say make it effective January 1st, 2018, and that'll give my staff time to notify any of the people, because we don't have a perfect list, but we got a pretty good list of most of the types of cabins and cottages and stuff that are out there. So that would give us enough time to notify the people. I mean, no, I don't want to start this immediately and then put everybody in a fluster. Let's, you know, start in January of 18 going forward, I think would be a fairer way to do it, and that would give everybody time to get the word out.
To clarify your question, part of the monies that Michael gets from the occupancy taxes to do just that. Just to
Yep.
make sure everybody's paying their fair share, and that's
Yep.
where the criticism came from the auditors. They felt they should do more, but they didn't do the job, so they don't understand. David?
Well, currently now, the way we do it, we have to have the enroll as a sunk cost, so it's required by the state, they order this all the time.
Right.
Any unit that should be required to pay sales tax, we have to charge occupancy tax. And that's, so we can, one, there's no services, we're not required to charge sales tax, or record it. And they come and look at every receipt. And
Right.
that's currently the way we've been doing it. If it's sales taxable, it's occupancy taxable. Now, you switch it, we're gonna have to change it to say, okay, not sales tax, we're gonna put a whole beer on it, say it, but you gotta collect occupancy tax. The other issue is, what about workers that house for $80 a week in these houses or a lot of them are motel units now.
Well, they're exempt anyway, because if the units are being rented for more than a 7-day period,
Right.
then they're exempt from the occupancy tax anyway.
Is that gonna stay that way or no?
Yes, that would.
Also, that's just different. Well, that's the way it is now, so
Yeah.
if it's sales taxable, it's occupancy taxable. Let's say it's a cabin or something, the guy goes in and rents for 2 weeks, so the exempt still?
Yeah, on a cabin or a cottage, yeah.
On a cottage or with others, we have the timeshare units, we rent mostly by the week. We can't give services, we don't give services, because, you know, it's a big savings for the people on a $3,000 room, it's, you know, 11%, $30. They say, no, we don't want it. Some people say, no, we want the service. If you want the service, you gotta pay it back.
Ron?
Yeah, Mike, just a quick question, technical question. If they rent it for, it's for that 2 weeks, it's not OCC tax eligible. But if they follow those 2 weeks in rent, it the following week for 1 week, are they exempt for the whole period, or no, just for that 2 weeks? Just for that 2 weeks. Just for the 2 weeks. I just want
Is
to.
it a 2-week period or 1-week period?
It's 1 week period, but he was saying if somebody rented for 2 weeks, and then, which becomes exempt from the, and then the next week they rent for...
3 weeks, 3 days, they got charged.
They got charged.
Yeah, but if it's rented for 7 days without a week stay, if it goes 2 weeks and a week, and a week like we have, every week we have people, you know, year after year, they don't pay the occupancy tax or the sales tax, they rent for at least a week. Any unit that's rented for more than a week, that's housekeeping, you know, it doesn't require services, is sales tax exempt. But that way, since, and that would be the same, I think, with the B&Bs. If people come up and rent a house for a week, can you charge sales tax? I don't believe so. And that's why you can't even go after it, but I don't know how it's gonna work, because there is a state law that says if it's rented for more than a week, people that rent houses don't get services, they go in and rent the house and live there. So you can try to get them into this, I don't know if it's worth it, it's something you just have to be aware of. The state law is a week with no service, they don't get sales tax, and we always understood it at the same, that was the same situation for occupancy tax. So it's very easy to audit, when we get audited by the state, we got to keep track of everything. If it's a 2-day rental, we got to charge them sales tax, we can charge them occupancy tax. If it's a week rental, we're not. So that's just point of information, is we run it by the sales tax law.
Which is how the occupancy tax is written.
But yeah, so I still wonder how that is changing it, that's what the 90s. That should be an occupancy tax.
Oh, he's adding a new unit of property.
Yeah, well...
Cabin, cottage.
Yeah, and...
So there's a definition, there's a gap in the
You know,
definition.
I'm saying this would be for, I mean, all the other rules would apply, and I'm just throwing this out there, you know, this has to be fully vetted, and we need to have a public hearing and everything.
I agree with you, but we do it now.
Yeah.
We charge occupancy tax, even though it's a cabin or a cottage, right?
Yep, and it's a 3-night stay.
We charge occupancy tax.
Right,
So
but-
if it's sales tax, we charge occupancy tax.
But what's happening is that we have a tremendous amount of these cabins that are classified as non-housekeeping cabins and housekeeping cabins, and whether or not you're getting certain services or not getting certain services determines whether or not you collect occupancy. And my point is, it's getting to the point where I can't keep track of it, and I would like to see if we could just eliminate that and just say bungalow, cottage, cabin.
I think it's a good point, Mike, and it's very specific what he's asking. I carried it a step further and muddied the waters. I'm good at that. Edna, did you want to
I
jump
want to ask
in?
Mike, how does this apply to nonprofits? Because I noticed it in the audit that we're concerned also about the nonprofits.
Well,
And I do have a concern with that.
Yeah, I know,
Look
we've
at the
talked about it
last
many
page of the stuff that I handed out to you.
Mhm.
There's a section of the law, of the occupancy tax law, Section 6, exempt organizations. I would ask that Section C of this be removed, which is basically says that if you're a nonprofit organization, you do not have to collect occupancy tax. And I think that this, especially in the northern part of our county, is creating a very unfair advantage to one business. And that's another thing I'd like to throw on the table is if we could talk about that, doing away with that section, which basically says if you're an organization that is a nonprofit organization under New York state law, you don't have to collect occupancy tax. and
So we're
Edna,
talking
go.
about the line.
Well, I was just like, I don't, I'm bothered by it. Yes, I guess I'm the person that's concerned. We have a facility that has 1 mile of lakefront and they pay no taxes. They are full, like, let's say from Memorial Day at least till October, they're open a lot of the other time, and they pay absolutely no occupancy tax, which makes no sense to me. It's not a burden on them, it's like a pass-through. They collect it from their client, pass it on to the county. So I guess I don't understand where the objection would be, and I don't understand why they really should be exempt from that.
I don't have an answer as to why this was included in the original law. I'm sure that there was a good thought process behind it, but I would like to have this also evaluated when we're doing
Right.
the housekeeping, non-housekeeping thing. And basically, I did just off of the website of the one particular property that Edna's talking about, and there's probably 40 grand on the table right there.
Oh, yeah. Mike, have you sent this down to the county attorney's office?
No, I have not. I didn't want to, well, I don't want to say it that way. I didn't want to consume a lot of time if it was something that the committee was absolutely against. And I'm not asking you to vote for it or not now, but if it's something that you want me to spend some time on and talk to the county attorney and see what needs to be done and so forth, I will gladly do that. But if it's something that you have no interest in doing, I don't want to be
Well, let's put
wasting my
that
time.
question to the committee. Does somebody want to propose a resolution to have this sent on to the county's attorney and Ron, Edna?
Also the nonprofit.
Right, the whole thing.
Mhm.
Yep. All right, so we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion,
And
comment?
would it go off the rules
Excuse me?
after, if we're going to be amending these things? What's the process after it leaves our table?
Well,
Well, it would have to be, what I would think would have to be done is that once we kind of get a game plan together as to how it should, or what we want to say and how we want to amend it, it would have to come back here first, then go to finance, and then go to the full board.
There will be a public hearing.
And then, yeah, there'll have to be a public hearing, because it is a local law.
Right. Okay. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Great, thank you very much,
Jerry,
everyone.
thank you, Michael.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the effort. We still have Airbnb on here. I still haven't firmed up an appointment for them to come up and talk to us. I was at a meeting where they were discussing different things that you should consider if you do a contract with Airbnb or any other similar facility, so I've not gotten that question answered, so I'm not ready to have them come yet, but hopefully this month we can do it and set something up for next month. Does anybody else have anything? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you had a couple seats vacant on that Occupancy Tax Advisory Committee, and I don't know how you can nominate or get a person on there, but there's an individual I'd like to nominate to go on there.
Didn't I get an email from you?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let me consider it. I've actually had a request from somebody else to be on it as well. So let me ferret the two out and take care of it next month. I'll tell you this, we've had a meeting. It was a very successful meeting. It was not overly cumbersome with the numbers that are there. There's a lot of discussion, but it seems to be all in the same vein at this point. So I would entertain put a couple more on. I'm sure as summer comes it'll thin right out, but we'll see. So I was pleasantly surprised. That was a problem the last time we did this. Nobody showed up. So they've done a good job in the first meeting. I think the only one that was missing were a couple supervisors. Which is also surprising. Anybody have anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn. Matt, Edna, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done deal. Thank you.